Now the application is complete, and here is the design we created. Just a quick overview. So the top left corner starts with an interface definition of the Pixabay API. It has a single function at the moment. Of course, it can be extended with a number of API functions, and this function receives a search text and a number of images, and it is expected to be used as an asynchronous function call. That's why its return type is a promise. The tPixabay image array. This tPixabay image is a TypeScript definition. Its implementer is included in the index.tsx file, Pixabay service, and then here we have the async stereotype. So this is the asynchronous implementation. It uses the fetch function from Node.js. Actually Node.js, but because this whole application runs within the browser, this is provided by the browser. The application logic component, app component, here in the design it has an alternative name, Pixabay Image Finder. This is the only component which is derived directly from the component. It has only component that has a state in this application, as well as props. Props comes from the parent component, and this prop includes the Pixabay API. So this way, when this component is created, it receives a callback object with all the functions back that can be called from within this application. The state, this application component is responsible for the entire screen, all the application state. It's not too complex in this example. It has images, a Pixabay image array, a number of images to get. This is coming from the search bar component. Open item dialog boolean. This is required when the user clicks an image in the list on the user interface, and then the application component opens a dialog box to show the details of the image. Search text is another parameter coming from the search bar, which tags. This all number of images and search text are incoming parameters to the Pixabay API, the query function. And the image details is a single object which should be displayed or is displayed when the image details dialog is opened. So this component application is composed of the user interface part, of a search bar, below is a image list, and then an image details dialog. The top level component has the state and the property. It's derived from React component. Search bar and the rest, all of them are completely stateless. So this is a stateless functional component. Image list is again a stateless functional component, receiving the props only, and the props normally are a composition of the values as well as interface callback functions. These are, I call them events, user interface events. 99%, maybe even more, all of these callbacks are triggered by user interface interactions. In this case, a search bar, when the user enters the search text or selects a number of images to return, or on the image list, it clicks an icon button on one of the image to open for the details, or in the image details dialog when the user clicks the close button. The image detail dialog is a pure component. It could have been implemented also as a stateless functional component, but because it also has a transition function, which I didn't want to make a global function, I just left it as a component, a pure component. So this is the architecture, and here are the type definitions for the search bar. Again, the props is the type of the props is a composition of the T search bar props, like so. These two fields are coming from the parent component, as well as the I search bar events, an interface which has two functions: handle number of images selected and on search text changes. Both of these functions are triggered by the search text field, as well as the number of images to get select component. These are from Material UI standard components, and here are the indication how they are called. Note that there is no this.props because this is a functional component, the search bar, so that's why we don't have to there is no this concept here. This is not an object, this is just a function. Another functional component is the image list, which again has a composite type for the props, a T image list props, this which has only an images, which is a T pixabay images array, and then also an image list event, which has only one single event handler, the handle click open function. All of these event handlers, are implemented in the pixabay image finder. Handle close, handle click open, handle number of images selected, on search text change. Some of them, these two, are asynchronous because these functions are calling the query function, and because that query function is asynchronous, these handlers should be asynchronous too. The others are practically not. Handle close and handle click open, they are not asynchronous function. The pure component image detail dialog again has a composite props type. One of them is the T image details dialog props, which has only one image details, the details of one image which to be displayed, and it's really up to the details dialog which elements it wants to display, to visualize. The application component in this example gives this responsibility or possibility over to the decision of the image details dialog component what it wants to display. So the application logic transfers all of the component, all the details here. There is no performance penalty because objects and arrays of objects are reference, so only the references are passed along during the application. And then it has one event. This is the handle close event, which is again implemented by the application logic component. These user interface components are composed of actually Material UI elements. Image details dialog is composed of a dialog component, a dialog title, dialog content, a large image URL, an image component, a toolbar, as well as a close button, dialog actions. Most of these are coming from some examples I found on an excellent Material UI website. Image list is composed of the grid list title. This symbol here is the composition symbol. That is, the image list is composed of a grid list, and the grid list is composed of one or up to a number of grid list tiles. And then each tile is composed of a tile bar as well as an image part. The tile bar has an icon button included. We have also a last diagram which displays the relationship between the major components: business logic, application logic, and user interface. For the sake of simplicity, I included all of this component into the app.tsx file, but the structure, the responsibility structure is clearly visible. These components are purely user interface components: search bar, image list, image details dialog, and the pixabay image finder. It has a toolbar, but most of them it just handles. That's why I call it application logic. It doesn't do any business logic. It just simply invokes the query image from Pixabay business logic function, which is implemented in the index.tsx with this interface.